It's no longer about doubts, nor about pride. When someone's presence returns with truth in their eyes, it's impossible to pretend that nothing has changed. It's not about repeating what didn't work before. It's about acknowledging what still lives, even if it's quiet, even if it's hurt. There are moments when silence is not retreat, it's clarity. And when someone returns without masks, without demands, but with determination, it's essential to listen with what you feel, not what you think. No one comes back by chance, and when the return doesn't ask but offers, everything changes. There's no longer talk of going back, there's talk of starting from scratch, but with everything that has already been learned. No rush, no pressure, no staged scenarios. What is being proposed is real: truth, respect, steadfast presence, no games, no halves, and those who feel know when the connection still pulsates. Denying it is futile. To deny is to lie to oneself. Now it's a decision. You either choose with courage or you lose out of cowardice. When feelings still inhabit, denial becomes a type of escape, and every escape has a price. This time there's no room for rehearsed speeches or recycled excuses. What's presented now is a raw choice. Keep pretending or face what still pulses. No one needs to say they were hurt. It's in the subtext, in the eyes that hesitate before locking in. It's in the way of approaching quietly, as if respecting the pain but not giving up on the effort. Time has taught. And now, all that is hoped for is clarity. It's not about erasing the past. It's not about starting over as if nothing had broken. It's about gathering what remains with dignity and silently asking, is there still space to build? Because love doesn't disappear. Cat hides when mistreated. It protects itself when ignored. But a clean gesture, a word without haste, and it reveals itself. Fragile, perhaps, but alive. If something is still alive, then there's still a chance, but only for those who choose firmly, without theatrics, without games. Now the question is simple. Either you have the courage, or you lose what matters. And often there's no turning back. It's no longer enough to wait for the other person to say everything. Those who feel recognize silence. Those who see with their hearts notice what isn't said. Presence changes everything. A gaze speaks before words are uttered. The way you carry yourself reveals more than any statement could, and that's where everything starts to make sense. When there's genuine intention, it shows in small actions, in details that were once overlooked. The way you listen, the attention that remains during a difficult conversation, the patience that wasn't there before, and most importantly, the choice to stay even when everything is still confusing. Because those who decide to return need to demonstrate it through their actions. It's not enough to say they've changed. They need to prove it. Not with promises, but with consistency. Those who want to stay build. Those who just want to fill a void tire quickly. And those who have already suffered don't want to rush anymore. They want stability. They want someone who knows how to stay when everything falls apart. Someone who won't run away at the first sign of trouble. Someone who won't use the past as an excuse, but as a lesson learned. Rebuilding doesn't come with pretty speeches. It comes with presence. It comes with respect. It comes with maturity. There's no point in trying to shorten the path. Either you navigate it all with honesty, or you don't reach anywhere at all. Those who aren't ready for this shouldn't get close. Because when someone opens up after being broken, every step counts. Every silence carries weight. Every gesture holds a universe. And what's at stake isn't just a reunion. It's a new beginning, with more truth, more calm, more presence, less haste, less pride, less noise. This kind of meeting only matters when both people know what they want, when there's a willingness to face whatever comes. And most importantly, when there's the courage to be transparent, even in fear. It's not about romanticizing pain, it's about recognizing that only what is deep survives the test of time, and if it still survives, then it's still worth living. But it's necessary to be willing to face everything that comes with it. Because love that returns doesn't come clean. It comes with scars, doubts, and unresolved stories. And the only way to move forward is to have the courage to confront all of this without running away. Because it's pointless to try to live something new while pretending that the past hasn't left its marks. It has, and it will sometimes hurt to remember, but it will also heal if there is truth in the steps taken. Reconciliation isn't poetry. It's a raw choice. It's deciding to stay even when it would be easier to leave. It's understanding that peace isn't the absence of conflict, but the presence of commitment. What separates what ends from what restarts isn't time. It's the willingness to give. It's how much one is ready to dive back in knowing that they might get hurt again. And those who truly love understand. The risk is part of it. No one guarantees that it will work out. But when there is respect, the attempt is worth more than any protection. Some people still wait for words, but those who have matured know words without action are just noise, and the heart can't take any more clamor. It wants comforting silence, presence that calms, truth that sustains. If someone returns, it wasn't out of neediness, it was by choice. And those who choose to return knowing what they caused come back differently. They come back more aware. They come back more human. They come back less selfish. But those who receive also need to be ready. Because restarting requires commitment from both sides. You can't love alone. You can't rebuild if the other only shows up when they miss you and disappears when they feel afraid. It's at this moment that you realize who is there for love and who just wants a temporary relief. Because true love shows itself in continuity, in the aftermath of euphoria, in the ordinary day. And that's where the real choice lies, to remain when everything goes back to being simple. When the enchantment turns into routine, when the shine of the return must turn into consistency. What is being asked here is not perfection. It's sincerity. It's the bare minimum needed to make it work. Looking into each other's eyes and saying, I want to try. No script, no excuses, no backup plan. Because when both truly want it, even the mistakes become stepping stones. Even the failures teach lessons. Even the hurts become bridges. But only if there is truth. And truth can be frightening, because it doesn't allow for pretenses. It demands listening. It tears apart. It reveals, but it also heals. It frees. It transforms. And those who have loved deeply know, a shared truth is worth more than any perfect illusion. A genuine I'm here means more than 1,000 shallow promises. This is the moment when maturity needs to outweigh pride, when feeling needs to weigh more than fear, when presence must triumph over the memory of absence. Because if there is still love, why keep hiding? Why retreat when everything that has been lived has already proven that the connection endures? Why pretend indifference when the heart races upon hearing the voice, when the eyes seek the other even in silence? Denying this is a form of cruelty to oneself, and to the other as well. Those who feel no. No further explanations are needed. What pulses inside does not quiet down with logic. It isn't erased by distance. It can't be numbed by distractions. You can try to move on. You can fill your time, your days, your spaces. But what is real comes back, in the form of memories, desires, and the weight of absence. And it comes back, most importantly, in the form of a decision. Yes, decision. Because love that has survived pain only continues to thrive if it is chosen every day, without expectation but with presence, without expectation but with action, without expectation but with commitment. Wanting isn't enough, you have to act. Feeling isn't enough, you have to show it. Saying you love isn't enough. You have to prove you're willing to do things differently, because those who have experienced what hurts now only accept what heals. And healing comes from simple gestures, from attentive listening, from sincere touch, from conversations that don't shy away, from silence that embraces, from actions that support. It's no longer about excuses. It's about emotional responsibility, about respecting what the other person felt, about understanding that winning someone back isn't about repeating promises, but about building trust. And trust doesn't return with words. It returns with time, with consistency, with truth. That's why true love doesn't force, it shows, it doesn't demand, it offers. It doesn't keep score, it invites. Because loving, after all, is a choice. And those who choose need to understand the weight of that. That's why now is not the time for impulsiveness. It's a time for awareness, for maturity, for presence. If it's meant to be, let it be whole. Let it be with intention. Let it be with truth. Nothing less than that is worth it. Because when you've experienced the pain of a breakup, when you've felt the weight of absence, the heart no longer accepts halves. It either comes fully or it doesn't come at all. And this isn't coldness, it's maturity. It's understanding that love is only worthwhile when there's a mutual commitment. Otherwise, it becomes a burden, a cycle, an emotional prison. And no one who has been through that wants to return to the pain. They want to return to love. They want to return to presence. They want to return to care. That's why now, what matters are the details, the small actions, the way you are treated when no one is watching, the patience that emerges in tough times, the willingness to be there even when it's not easy. Because anyone can say words, but only those who feel sustain it in everyday life. The question now is simple and inevitable. Are you willing to live this deeply? Are you ready to shed your ego, your fear, your patterns? Or will you continue trying to survive away from something that, deep down, never stopped making sense? Because it's like this. You either dive in with truth or you step away with respect. But staying in the middle is cowardice. It's nurturing hope without providing structure. It's promising with your eyes and denying with your actions. And it hurts more than any absence. If there's something to be rebuilt, let it be on a new foundation. Let it be with dialogue, with listening, with patience, without repeating old mistakes, without expecting the other to read your mind, without waiting for time to resolve what only choice can heal. Because now, everything revolves around this. Choice, not impulse, not neediness, not habit. Choosing to stay, choosing to try, choosing to feel, choosing to open up, even with fear, even without guarantees, even with everything that has been broken. And that's the most beautiful thing of all. When someone comes back with sincerity, the perspective changes. It carries weight, it has history, it has intention, and you can feel it. You feel it in the presence that doesn't want to leave. You feel it in the silence that doesn't abandon you. You feel it in the demeanor of someone who no longer runs away when emotions arise. That's the kind of return that can't be explained. It must be lived. Because when someone decides to come back with sincerity, it's not about repeating steps. It's about creating new paths with the same feet, but now with a different heart. And for this to happen, both sides must be committed. You can't build where only one person is present. You can't restart where only one wants to talk. You can't love where only one has the courage to be vulnerable. If there's still feeling, let it be cared for, not ignored, not postponed, not frozen. And if you feel it, if you recognize something still pulsing in the other, then this is the moment. Time to decide, time to stop running away, time to stop pretending that nothing matters, because what truly matters doesn't disappear. It remains there, silent but steadfast, awaiting action. And that's what life is asking for now. Action. Action to rebuild. Action to look into each other's eyes and say, I still want you. Action to set pride aside and choose to love consciously. No one will promise that it won't hurt. But one thing is certain, this time it can be different. Because now there's maturity. Now there's history. Now there's respect. And where there is respect, everything can bloom again, but it has to be with sincerity. No games, no emotional manipulation, no trying to prove who suffered more. All of that just pushes people away. It only destroys. Healing comes from the simple, a genuine hug, a full listening ear, quality time together. Forgive me, that doesn't expect a response but offers peace. That's what true reconciliation is based on. Not erasing the past, but giving it new meaning, using each fall as a step, each tear as a bridge, each silence as a new beginning. And this only happens when there is a decision. It's no longer helpful to wait for the perfect moment. It will never exist. What exists is now. What exists is what still thrives. And if it still thrives, it's a sign that it can still be experienced. I'll continue with the next part now, intensifying the emotions and the depth of real reconnection and conscious rebuilding. Only those who have the courage to leave the past in its place and hold the other's hands with a present heart truly experience something real. Is it difficult? Yes, but nothing profound comes from what is easy. It's easy to give up, it's easy to turn your back, it's easy to repeat the same story with someone else while pretending everything is fine. What's difficult is to stay. What's difficult is to face things. What's difficult is to care for what still breathes even after everything. And that's where the measure of love lies. Not in what you feel on good days, but in what you choose to do on days when everything is still fragile. Because starting over with someone who has hurt you, or who has been hurt, requires more than words. It requires humility. It requires presence. It requires healing. And healing takes time. It can't be rushed, it can't be forced. It's built day after day, with patience, with presence, with listening. This return that knocks at the door now is not just any return. It's not disguised neediness. It's not emotional distraction. It's a deep calling. A call for a new chapter. A call to live with more sincerity. A call to love with more responsibility. And those who feel know. The heart recognizes when the other has returned changed. It notices when there's intention behind the gaze, when there's strength behind the words, and when there's vulnerability behind the silences. This is the moment, not the perfect one, but the real one. And sometimes the real is all we need. It's not about forgetting what happened. It's about forgiving with awareness. It's about moving forward without carrying guilt as a weapon. It's about allowing yourself to be loved again, without sabotaging yourself. And if the other is returning with honesty, then perhaps it's time to make space for that. Space in the heart, space in time, space in your plans. No need to rush, but presence is essential. No need for promises, but intention is necessary. Because every love that has survived distance, pain, and silence deserves at least a fair chance to be lived with maturity. Now that's all that matters. The decision not to waste what still beats. If this resonated with you, comment with honesty. Leave your like and subscribe so you don't miss anything more.